If you are comfortable someplace, you're probably in the wrong place. Comfortable is bad because it leads to contentment. You're not trying, there's no effort. Whenever you stop failing, you're done. They contract me and pay me, I don't care about the money, to come back to the prison they used to hold me. And I work there now. Freeing people is my call. So I want to bring hope to everybody.
All right, Belief Nation, I have a very special guest with me here today in Arizona, Mr. Andre Norman, author of the new book, Ambassador of Hope. Now, if you don't know Andre, this is one of the nicest humans that I've ever met in my life. And there's a lot of people who will do nice things for you if you ask them. And then there's someone like Andre who will not only do the nice thing and doesn't need to be reminded to do the nice thing, but then he'll remind you as a follow-up that, hey, is there anything else I can do for you? I checked my text, there's Andre, hey, how else can I be of service? Hey, how we doing? How can I help? And it's honestly inspirational. I super appreciate that, man. And in seeing how nice you are and caring you are and, hopeful you are, you'd think this guy must have had the perfect childhood and the perfect upbringing and like the perfect parents and the...
Of course.
Right, of course.
Leave it to Beaver.
Exactly. And then you read his story and he goes from being in a poor neighborhood and getting into trouble all the time and joining gangs and going to prison and spending, having a 100-year sentence on his head and maximum security and then being the king of the prison, not guards, but the prison...
Gangs.
The what?
Third-ranking gang member in the state.
It's king of the gangs in the prison. To then having just a life-changing moment and saying, I'm basically the king of nowhere, and this isn't going to get me anywhere, and just changing your whole life around, and then getting out on parole, and then serving people, and finding your why, and spreading hope, and becoming a Harvard Fellow, and recognized by the UN is like just what a life change. And I guess the easiest place to start with this is, because the book is called Ambassador of Hope, and you are the Ambassador of Hope, how do people get more hope?
People get more hope when generally the person's depressed, they're down, they're stuck, they're in whatever rut they are in. They need somebody to see that, whether the person who can actually help them or refer them to help. And oftentimes, people will see somebody who's having a problem or issue and they'll contact me. Andre, my sister, she's depressed. Andre, my son, he's suicidal. Andre, my brother, he's on drugs. People make a formal request to me. And they'll say, Andre, we need this help. People who know me, they're in the network, call a friend, I get a call, I go. There's that. Then there's other times when it came to you, you didn't ask me anything. For me, knowing is the request. If I know somebody needs help, to me that's equivalent to a request. So if I see somebody in need, I don't need, usually if you're in trouble or you're in need or you're stressing, you don't have the capacity to ask for help. So where I come from, what I was taught, knowing is the request. If you know, now I have to make a decision, am I gonna help that person or not? So if I hear your situation, anybody's situation, where they need help, I instantaneously ask myself, am I going to help that person? I make a conscious decision to say yes or no.
So you said, where I come from, what I was taught. So who taught you that?
I was taught by a guy named Natan Schaefer. Okay. Natan Schaefer, in the book, is an Orthodox Jewish rabbi. There was a guy getting bullied one day in prison. I hate bullies. I used to be really short. Don't look like it now. But I hate bullies. So I stopped the kids from bullying the guy, and he thanked me. Then he would say hi to me all the time. And so I was like, okay, whatever. He said he had no idea who I was or my status in the prison. He just thanked me for helping him. And then fast forward, probably like 2 months later, I'm walking in the program building, and I saw him sitting down. I said, let me go say hi to Bob. He always says hi to me. So I went in to say hi to Bob. Bob introduced me to the guy he's sitting with, Natan. I know he was a rabbi, didn't know what Orthodox Jewish rabbi meant, didn't recognize the feeling, nothing. He was just a super cool human. And he had a good vibe or energy, as we call it. And I said, what are you doing? He said, studying. I said, can I study with you? He said, yes. So I started going to Natan's service every Wednesday. And for the first month, I didn't know it was a Jewish service. I just knew I was studying with Natan. Until somebody told me I was in Jewish services, I didn't know. But Natan taught me accountability, respect, servanthood, caring, gratitude, forgiveness. He, for the most part, taught me how to be human.
I'm curious how you got the identity shift to stick. So you had this identity of being the head of the gang.
Third, no. I was not the head. I was one of the bosses, but I was not the guy. That'd be Dominic Williams.
But okay, so number 3, but like, but even your whole upbringing in getting leadership positions, I guess, in different gangs and leading people and feeling the power and respect that comes with that, to then shift in your identity to be the guy who's here to serve and help. Like a lot of people will have this moment where they feel like, I want to change my life. I don't like where I'm going, but it doesn't stick.
Doesn't stick.
Because it's an identity thing, and you made it stick. So people have hit the bottom of the barrel, but then they hit it again, they hit it again, they hit it again, and that identity doesn't stick around. How did you make that identity stick?
One of the biggest things I attributed to, when I had my identity shift, I was in solitary confinement. So I'm locked in a cell 24 hours a day by myself, for the most part. And when I decided that I wanted to be a successful person and go to Harvard University, I was, for the most part, locked in a cell by myself. So when I started to trek, I was literally there was nobody around me that could tell me no or could stop me. So I had like a 6-month head start before I had to deal with people. So I'm 6 months into the process of trying to be the Harvard person. Before had I been in general population and I had the epiphany overnight, I came out in the morning, the guys would be like, yo, let's go, we're going to sell drugs. Hey, we're going to beat this guy up. You're stuck in the middle of what you're in the middle of. Because I was removed and in solitary confinement, that was my blessing. Because I had the opportunity to actually marinate and sit on it and start to trek and had to be nobody. I didn't have to be Andre. I didn't have to be Andre the Invincible. I didn't have to be the boss. I was just a guy sitting in the cell by myself.
So they put you in solitary to punish you, and it ended up being the thing that saved you.
Saved, literally, because I was in there for 2.5, and I finally woke up. That last 6 months, I got a running head start. So when I finally did come back to population, GP, I'm already 6 months in. I got my GED already. I started going to counseling. I started doing all the things to get me started. I had a 6, and this kept going.
How do you not think you're crazy when you say you're sitting here in solitary confinement in a prison, I'm going to go to Harvard? How does that not immediately then say, but all of your story and your past and where you came from, and that doesn't hold you back?
I sat in the cell. When I had my epiphany and realized I was a king of nowhere, I said, I don't want to be here. This is a waste. Being in prison, stupid. And there's way more prisons than just a penitentiary. People are locked in relationships, bad jobs, all kinds of stuff. My prison was actually the penitentiary. When I realized that I didn't want to be there, I said, I want to be free. Easy thing. I want to be free. I want to be away from him. I want to be away from her. I want a different job. That's the easy part. Then I looked around at all the guys, white, black, Spanish, the guys working in the church, the guys working in the kitchen, the guys working in the yard, the smart guys, the chess players, the ball players. I looked at everybody. Everybody went home. Everybody came back. Not one group got free and stayed free. So I said, free doesn't work. I don't want what doesn't work. So I said, okay, well, what's next? Who doesn't come to prison? Successful people. I said, so if I can become successful, I won't come here. And I said, well, where do successful people come from? College. So I said, I just need to go home and go to college, and I won't have to come back here. I picked Harvard because it's the only school I knew the name of.
Okay.
I'm from Boston. It's down. I used to ride my skateboard there when I was a kid. So I didn't pick Harvard because it was Harvard. It was literally the only school I'd ever heard of. That's branding on their part.
So many people end up in solitary, and they don't have this moment.
I had my moment. And when I went out and I told my friends, or you call gang members, yo, I figured it out. I'm going to go home and go to Harvard. They wanted to laugh at me.
Right.
But I had a habit of stabbing people.
Okay.
So only you got away with laughing. Then they tried to talk me out of it. Oh, Dre, you can't go. You're black. You're a gang member. You're in the hole trying to kill people. You're a psychopath. They told me all the reasons I couldn't go. And what they were really saying is, don't leave us. What they were really saying is, misery loves company. Hey, let's go beat up somebody. They're down. Hey, let's go stab somebody. They're down. Hey, let's go do this. They're down. Anything negative that would ruin our lives, they were all in favor for. If I wanted to start a riot, they ride with me in a minute. If I want to go beat somebody up, they ride with me. I want to go kill somebody, they're down. The moment I said I want to go fix my life, they're like, oh. You can't do that. They believe in a system of casting where this is where they belong. And I didn't believe that.
There's a lot of cool sections in the book, and we'll read a couple and just get your take on it because I found it interesting as I was pouring through. So page 63, talk about doubling down. You say, it was in my nature to be the best at whatever I decided to do. Therefore, if I was ever going to be a F-up, I was going to be the best F-up ever. And what was interesting is there's so many people who've got so many talents. Like you got all these leadership positions, and you had drive and ambition. Like, I'm going to go be the best.
Right.
But just pointed in the wrong direction.
Complete wrong direction.
Right? And so a lot of times it's just, hey, let's take our skills and abilities and ambitions and just shift the direction and go forward. How do you, if somebody feels stuck or lost or doesn't have hope, how do they identify some of those characteristics or traits or skills that could point them in a different direction?
Environment is huge, but the seeds that are planted in you are even bigger. My mother used to tell me, boy, if you take 10% of your energy and point it to something good, you turn this world upside down. I just never listened. I stayed where I felt comfortable. If you are comfortable someplace, you're probably in the wrong place. Either in a nursing home about to leave this planet, or you're in the wrong place. So comfortable is bad because it leads to contentment. You're not trying, there's no effort. So it doesn't matter where you are. If you are comfortable, you're not being challenged, you're not being pushed, you're not having bad days, whenever you stop failing, you're done. So if you don't have hope, the first thing that says, look at your environment. Are you in an environment that's challenging you? Do you have a goal that's challenging you? Do you have people around you that are pushing you? Or do you have people around you that are pulling you? And just doing a complete assessment. And then when I came up with my goal of going to Harvard, and nobody believed me, I looked in the mirror, I said, what's inside of me that's stopping this from happening? Because all too often, I would go to my friends. When I first got the epiphany to go, I went to my friends and they shot it down. I went to my mom, she shot it down. My grandmother even shot it down. And we go to people who don't have the vision or the hope that we want, and we get reinforced with what we don't want. So there is somebody who will reinforce your goal. It might not be your friend group. So I had a GED teacher who I didn't know, came down, and I told her my goal. She said, that's a great goal, Andre. You know why? She's a teacher. You know what teachers do? They encourage. You know what friends do? They concern themselves with where they are. Teacher, encourage. Chaplain, the rabbi, encouraged. I got people who are encouragers around me and started talking to them versus just my friend group.
If somebody feels stuck, how do they find the thing inside them that they're good at something, that they have a skill, they have a talent? It's just, again, maybe pointing in the wrong direction. How do we find that thing?
Forget the skill and talent. What I'm doing now, there's very little correlation between what I thought of when I was sitting in that cell. What I said when I was sitting in that cell was, I want to be successful. Had no definition, had no plan or structure to that. But I knew if I could become successful, it's going to put me in the right spaces and places around the right people. If I'm heading for success, I'm not going to be hanging out with certain types of people, doing certain types of things, certain types of temptations. So I just get a goal in the sense of I want to be successful. I want to be healthy. So I want to be healthy. I'm on a health kick right now. So I'm not eating vegan. I'm not eating all the rest of the stuff. I'm just eating better than I was before. My worst days are now, let's bump those up. There's great days, I eat wonderful stuff. Then there's days I eat horrible stuff. We had a speaker yesterday said, hey, just eliminate the low days. So I'm eliminating my low days and I'm at break even or better the rest of the day. So don't try to figure out, I'm going to be a doctor, I'm going to be a lawyer, I'm going to be a psychiatrist. No, I just want to be in a better space and identify a location and head towards it.
Well, and to your point about environment mattering, you also traveled with your trainer.
Yes.
He's here helping push you and doing your workouts and making sure you stay on track.
Because for years, I'm going to work on my health. I'm literally on the road every day. So my phone rings, I fly to Baltimore. My phone rings, I fly to London. My phone rings, is somebody someplace with a relative in crisis every day. So whether it's professionals or regular folks, my phone rings, come help. So I go. I was coming here I went to Boston, I got called, I had to go to New York. Left New York, went to Richmond. I was supposed to go from Richmond home to change my bags. I got called to go to Baltimore. Then I had to ship half my clothes home so I can fly to Phoenix. I haven't touched home in about a week and a half. My trainer would have been sitting home for a week and a half talking about, where's Andre? He's doing crisis management. He's saving people's lives. So I finally came to the conclusion of, it's so much easier to have him fly with me because I'll never be home. Simple solution, but it took about a year and a half to get to it.
And so for people who will resonate with the story, like, yeah, my friends don't support me, they want to stay comfortable, they're not happy, they're negative, but they don't know who to turn to. They don't have a teacher, they don't have a rabbi. Like, how do we find some person who can help inspire us or give us hope?
one of the reasons it made me reach out to you when I say, do I help this person? I say no a lot. I don't say yes to everybody. Even though you don't know, I'm sitting home and I'm watching. I think we were on a meeting one time, you mentioned your circumstance. I hear this, everybody mentions their circumstance. And every single time I heard circumstance, I say yes or no if I'm gonna step in or not. One of the things that made me say yes is A, you're a giver. B, you're super humble. B, you're super giving out great vibes on your channel and in life every day. I've never seen you not try to help somebody. So these are the things that I saw when I saw you. And how do you not help that person? I teach people, be the thing you want people to be for you. If you want a mentor, are you mentoring somebody? You want to coach, are you coaching somebody? You want to make money, are you giving money to other people? It can't just be a one-sided thing. Because if I'm just giving to you and you're a stopgap, then it's dead in the water. I wasn't a church guy. I'm walking through prison one day. I walked up to a door and it was like a Bible study going on. For some reason, I stood outside the door. I'm trying to find somebody. And the pastor, chaplain's in the room preaching the Bible study. Never forget this. He said, be a vessel. In this instance, let it pour into you, then you pour it into somebody else. It wasn't a church thing. It was a lesson. Be a vessel. And of all the places, that stuck with me. I don't know why, but it did. So when I see people who are vessels, I have no problem pouring into you because I know you're going to pour it into somebody else. And my goal is to help people. So if it's directly or indirectly, it's all the same.
Who would you pick as some of your heroes right now?
My heroes? Oh, we're in Genius Network. Joe Polish is a different hero. That's a brother to me. Joe Polish met me at a down point in my life. I was restarting, trying to find my way. He met me. He heard about the work that I did. And he said to me, Andre, what do you need to live? I told him. He says, I'll pay your bills for the next 5 months. Met me 5 minutes in. No story. I didn't even ask for I didn't ask for a dime. He just said, I'll pay your bills for the next 5 months. And 4.5 years later, we're still together. Because we didn't connect on business or marketing or advertising. We both love helping people. And I know if you gave him an option of either helping people or business, he would choose helping people. So that's where we connect. We don't do any business together. We don't have any deals together. The only deal we got is Genius Recovery. And when somebody calls and need help, we go. So, hero. I'm Natan Schaefer, still in my life. Still in my life. I collect mentors. I can list off every mentor. The best man at my wedding was a prison volunteer, Pat Dempsey. Deacon John McMillan was one of the guys at my programs that was helping me out. Tim Allen. The day I came home, I met Tim Allen, and he started studying with me and mentoring me and helping me out. Tim Allen's a mentor. Ken Marin. I can go down the list. And then Dominic Williams and Will Dunn. These are two guys I've been working with and friends and brothers with for 20 plus years. I've been following Dominic around since I was 12. I met Will when I came home the second day. We've been together ever since. My favorite sister, Imani. My other two sisters get mad when I say that, but she's my favorite sister. It is what it is. My son is a mentor to me. He's living a life that I always wanted. He goes to a great school. He skis in Switzerland. He goes on wonderful trips. He's getting good grades. He's going to go to Stanford or Columbia. That's so encouraging to me, not just as a dad, but as a person. And mentors can be older, younger, different genders, it doesn't matter. So I have probably Ben Richter, John Ratliff, Howard Getson, Ben Hardy, Dan Sullivan, and Babs. I can go down a list of Michael and Rosalind. I mean, from here and from around the world. I mean, I just have so many people who've poured into me that I'm a sum total of them. And their belief in me stops me from ever going backwards. I've got my St. Louis team. It's in the book, but Keith Alper, John Rulin, John O'Leary, Rusty Keeley, and my brother, Dave Spence. They came and got me. When I fell off my cliff, those 5 men came and got me.
I love how you said you collect mentors. One of the things I share with my audience a lot is I like to collect good people. It's just you find somebody, they've got a good vibe about them, just collect them. Like find a way to hang out with them, find a way to stay in touch, even if it feels weird. You meet somebody at an event, and And for all the names that you just listed off, if somebody's watching, that may sound like, well, now he's got so many people, but it was one by one.
Oh,
It
definitely.
wasn't just like you got out of prison and like, hey, here's this
Man,
giant
I
party
walked
waiting
out
for
of
you.
prison, and it was like, I met Tim Allen when I first came home. He was the first guy I met on the other side of the wall, Tim Allen. And we just used to sit together, and he was a pastor, and we would sit together, and he would just talk to me once a week. I'd go to his office, I'd talk to the kids at juvenile, and he worked in the juvenile building, and I would go to his office, and we'd just sit down and talk. And that was it. It was no formalized anything. He was always welcoming, doors open, I just had to walk in. And my sister, Susie Spence, first I met Susie, she said, we're gonna do great things. And me and her husband and others turned the whole school district around. Then we came back with Dan Curran, and we turned Ferguson around. When Ferguson riots happened, me, Dan Curran, and Susie actually did that work. We went into the streets of Ferguson at 2 o'clock in the morning. So I got a little white guy from St. Louis, but he cared. I'm saying, the mentor thing, Andre, all your mentors are black, almost none of them are black. I'm pro-black every day of the week, but a mentor to me is somebody who cares, has capacity, has character, has consistency, and that you can believe in. If you happen to have the same color as me, cool. But if you don't, I'm not going to turn my back on a great mentor just because you're not the same color as me.
I love it. Okay, let's do another reading. Got some good stuff in here. Okay, this one I love. So chapter 6, page 99. So many people wake up and say, I'm not going to drink anymore. They wake up and say, I'm not going to use drugs anymore. They're not going to gamble anymore. They're not going to cheat on their taxes anymore. They say it definitively as though speaking it into existence will make it happen, but willpower alone doesn't work.
Ben Hardy, shout out to Ben. Willpower doesn't work. If that's the case, I'd be 210 pounds. Yeah. If I could just say it. You actually have to develop the habits, develop the routine, develop a system, be in an ecosystem and environment that supports it, or at least prison didn't support my goals, but if you can put yourself in a positive ecosystem, that helps. There are things you have to tangibly do on a daily basis to be successful. You can't write yourself one letter, you can't give yourself one affirmation and it happens. It's an ongoing daily struggle to be great. And the question is, not can you do the ongoing daily struggle, but do you really want to be great? I can sit here and say, there's 20 million people, hypothetical number, from 1980 to today who've been released from prison. I would put my resume next to any of them and would hands down shatter them if it was a contest. Because I came out not to be number 2,000, not number 3,000, not number 4 million. I came out to be number 1. I know in Canada y'all don't push like that. It's an American trait. I want to be number 1, and I would stand with my resume next to any man or woman who've been released from American prison the last 40 years and say I shattered them. Because it's a competitive thing. But I compete with me. I'm actually competing against anybody else. I'm competing with me. Can I be better than yesterday? Can I be better than last time? I've been doing suicide interventions for 20 plus years. I haven't lost anybody.
Would Andre sitting in solitary, if you were to go back and look at him now, like would he say, yeah, I'm going to go do that?
This wasn't the plan.
Yeah.
This was me. When I first came home from prison, I worked with black kids only because it's where I felt comfortable. Like I said, if you're comfortable, you're not growing. Then I got challenged to work with black boys. Then I got challenged to work with girls, which was, I don't know anything about being a girl. I went to work with girls. They had a horrendous storyline. Domestic violence, molestation is just horrible. Prostitution, crazy. Then I got challenged to go work with white kids. Like, I don't know, white kids got everything. Why do I need to go help white kids? I help kids who are getting shot, kids who are parents are smoking crack, kids who are living in war-torn cities. Why am I going out to the suburbs to work with white kids? But then I went, and white kids drank, smoked, got bullies, cut up, same problems we have, just in a bigger school. Then I got challenged to go work with businessmen. I'm like, why am I going to work YPO, Young Presidents Organization, and EO? Why am I going to work with these white businessmen? They got everything. No, they drink, they smoke, they cheat on their wives, they're stressed out, they cheat on their taxes. And I got to the point where I said, no longer will I judge somebody based on my ignorance. I just show up. But in the beginning, my goal was I stay where I'm comfortable. Then I grow from that. It was okay for me to only work with black boys in the beginning because it's where I was comfortable. Then when I got that down, then the next challenge came, and I accepted it. I got the girls down, the next challenge came, white kids, and I accepted it. The next challenge came, I ended up going to Guatemala and helping kids in Guatemala. I started Costa Rica, Honduras, Saudi Arabia, Sweden. If there's people over the world who need help, and if we think in the terms of our town or our tribe, then you're shortchanging yourself and you're denying so many people.
That's a great section in the book where you first get challenged to go and help the white kids instead of just sticking to your community and then realizing, oh my gosh, I mean, they're just human too, and everybody needs hope.
And the crazy thing was, my rabbi, my mentor, all the people who were my mentors in prison, for the most part, the outsiders are all white. So when I got asked to go help white kids, I was like, no, I'm not doing that. It doesn't make sense. I've been getting help from white people for like 10 years now, but I couldn't see in the because I was comfortable where I was. And I didn't see the craziness of saying I'm not gonna go. These could be their kids, and how could I not go? But again, we go with what we know until it's challenged, and then you have to accept the challenge. You're gonna be challenged to grow. You're gonna be challenged to expand, and you have to do. I did an interview 2 months ago. I'm in New York, lady comes in, she sits down, she says, hi, my name is Jane, and my pronouns are she, they. I'm like, okay, what does that mean? Whole interview turned into her explaining to me the queer world, pronouns, and everything goes, because I legitimately didn't know. And the same thing, like white folks, when George Floyd died, they didn't know black folks had it that bad. My phone rang off the hook after George Floyd died. All my white friends wanted to know how they could be helpful, how did they miss it, what could they do different, whether it was a company or a person or individual. And I'm sitting here with this lady, and she's explaining this whole world to me. I had no one I can call. I'm just clueless about, I hear the labels and the tags, I'm clueless, I'm not in that community. So I believe the same way white folks felt about black folks when they got introduced to a reality. And I asked you a question. I believe we've been waiting 400 years to have the race conversation. When George Floyd died, it opened the door and the phone started ringing. So I told all my black friends, answer the phone. Answer the damn phone. Answer these people's questions. We've been waiting 400 years for this conversation. Get off pride, get off anything. Answer the damn phone and answer these people's questions so we can finally get to reconciliation and healing.
What were some of the more surprising and more powerful questions?
It wasn't so much, it was like, we didn't know that black life, because when you watch George Floyd die, it was during the pandemic, the entire world was watching at the same time. It's not a Rodney King where you saw it on tape delay or you saw it on the news and they could take it down. With social media, everything was right now. The whole world saw the same thing at the same time and was shocked. And they were like, okay, this is just so wrong. But now who do I ask and who do I process this with? If you're white in Utah or Montana or New York or LA, you feel funny about calling your black friends to have this conversation. My friends called me. They said, well, Dre does this for a living, he helps people, and they started calling me. I had people's kids call me crying. I had no idea it was like this, and you saw the world from this vantage point. That every day you walk out your door, it's a concept of you might die. Or your son goes out the door. You're worried about he might get pulled over and die. And that's a reality for where we live and where we come from. And they just wanted to know, how can we help? How can we support? What can we do? What is the right thing to do? They got this thing on Tuesday, we post a black picture on our Instagram. Is that enough? What do we say? How do we do it? And we just walked them through. How do you actually make a difference? How do you impact people and be sensitive? You don't have to know everything, but how do you be sensitive to what's going on?
And you think it's had enough of a ripple effect?
I believe more people need to pick up the phone and call, and more people need to answer the calls. There's power in division. You're feeling bad right now because you've been humbled or exposed or shown that you didn't know something. I have a choice as a black man, as a person who on the other side with the answer. I can hold the answer over your head. I can give you the answer and let you be free. There's two ways to teach, independence or codependence. Holding it over your head is codependence. Now you're dependent on me because I'm gonna keep playing games with this little thing. Or I can give it to you, just let you be free. I don't believe in teaching for codependence. I want everybody to be an independent person, stand on their own. And I just believe in everything else, people see opportunities. I saw an opportunity to heal, someone else sees an opportunity to exploit. And that's just how the world works.
So in going back to the willpower, is not enough to make the change, what was the most consistent habit that you were doing to remind yourself that this is possible for you?
I just kept my goal and kept my one goal of Harvard University in my forefront. That's it. So when I got my GED, I didn't quit. When I started going to college and prison, I didn't quit. When I graduated anger management, I didn't quit. When I got a job working at Harvard, indirectly, like speaking on the campus, I didn't quit. When we started working with the White House, I didn't quit. When I became the top-rated speaker at YPO, I didn't quit. When I joined EO, I didn't quit. When I called me to 30 different countries, I didn't quit. Then in 2016, Dr. Charles Ogletree called me, and he awarded me a fellowship. Then I was in trouble because I had nothing to go for. But then, 25 years from the day I said it, is to when it happened. And I had so many achievements and accomplishments along the way. I tapped out. I did great. By any measure, I've done great. But again, I'm not competing against you. I know what I said to myself in that cell. I wanted to be at Harvard. I didn't say I wanted to be at the White House. Didn't say I want to be at London Business School. Didn't say I want to be in Australia or Saudi Arabia. I said Harvard. And I'm not backing down off that. And when I got there, it was like one of the great, when I got my email, anorman@harvard.edu, and I got my little desk and little plaque, I'm on fire because it took 25 years. But that was my goal. The hardest part was achieving it, and I had to find another goal.
Right.
That was the hardest thing because it kept me focused for 25 years.
And what's the new goal?
The new goal is mass incarceration. There are so many people locked up. And I say mass incarceration, definitely 100%, the 2.2 million people incarcerated in America need to be revisited. And is that the right system or the right way? Then I extend beyond that. I go to people's houses and help them free from the prisons that they live in. The prison of alcoholism, the prison of drugs, the prison of, sex addiction, whatever, gambling addiction, the prison of whatever you're in. I used to think, like I thought black boys were my calling. Freeing people is my calling. So I want to bring hope to everybody. So it's like, well, Dre, why are you in Genius Network? Those people aren't going to prison. No, they're in a different type of prison. So I go from Houston to New York to LA to San Diego to Montana. I was at a conference last year, and a lady came up to me. I came on stage. They paid me to come on stage. I got on stage, I looked at the audience, I said, they don't want to hear my story. I felt the energy from the crowd. I started talking, I said, how are your kids? How are you doing? And people came up to me after, my nephew's suicidal, dial the number. I'm doing calls in the hallway for like the next 4 hours. Then one lady from Montana is like, my daughter tried to kill herself last week. I got on a plane and I flew to Montana. There was one girl in one town in Montana. I spent the day with her. Now she's doing wonderful. That was worth the trip. I don't need 50 people in the school or auditorium full of 10,000. Everybody counts. Because I used to be that one person. And people showed up for me.
What I love, lots of things to love, but you're really a uniter. And you see a lot more of the commonalities in people than the differences, which I think we need. And you tell this great story in the book where when people are leaving prison, everybody's cheering them on. Whether you're Bloods or Crips or whatever background, whatever gang you're in, you're fighting, in the system. But then when you get out, everybody's cheering you on because that's everybody's goal.
Right.
And so even if you do a lot of work with corporations, you do a lot of work, speaking now just beyond, not just the prison system, for people who are trying to be uniters and see the common element and cheer for their enemy because they see, a human there, what advice would you have?
The story you're talking about, we're in prison every day. We fight against the Latinos, we fight against the other blacks, we fight against the whites, we fight against each other. Every day we're fighting. It's like the nonstop fight. Every morning, Monday through Friday at 9 o'clock, they announce the names of people who are going home. They say Evan Carmichael, John Stanley, John Roberts, Bob Smith, report to the gate. That means you're leaving. We know you're leaving. And when they start announcing those names, we as prisoners understand somebody's leaving this place, this hellhole. And we, in our hearts, cheer. I might hate your guts, but I am so happy that you're leaving this place. And I'm happy for you for that 10 or 15 seconds. And when they walk out the gate and they say, movement over, it's back to normal. We're all still in the hellhole. Let's go until tomorrow morning. For that 5 minutes every morning, everybody's united. What I've come to understand is, let's expand that 5 minutes. Let's not try to go the other. Let's start where we're already together. I don't need a gang summit. No, we need to expand that 5 minutes to 7 minutes to 20 minutes. How do you expand what we already have? We're trying to do it in reverse. That's how I see it. When I went in prison, I see glitches. Is that thing too loose? I can make a knife. That CL's not paying attention. I can sneak by him. Where's a glitch for me to exploit? Now I look for glitches to bring things together. I went to high school in St. Louis. I looked for every glitch that didn't allow a kid to learn. Then I sealed it. Then they started learning. I go into a company. I look for every glitch that's allowing something not to happen that the boss wants. Then I seal it. I see glitches. I see the things you can do to exploit. So I use the same skill set from prison by using companies now to seal those holes up that they can't see.
And what I love, I get back to an earlier question, is you have this ability or skill, just pointing in the wrong direction.
That's what my mama told me.
You point it here, you can have amazing impact.
Yeah.
You've created an organization. It's been recognized by the UN. It's doing some tremendous work. Tell us about it.
The Academy of Hope, it was 3.5 years ago. There was a riot in South Carolina, and 7 men died, were murdered, and 30 others were wounded. The entire prison system, 19,000 people went on lockdown. I know nothing about this because I don't watch the news. The news is just too negative for me, so I don't even watch it. I'm at a conference, and I'm doing my seminar, and I tell my story about overcoming prison and being a gang leader, changed my life, and the rest of that. At the end of the conference, at the end of my seminar, a lady walked up to me. She says, "That was a great story, but can you do it?" I said, "What are you talking about?" She said, "Yeah, you was a gang leader, you ran the yards, you was a tough guy, and then you changed your life around. Can you do it in other people?" I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, we have a situation in South Carolina. We need you to come because we had 7 dead bodies and we have 30 people in the hospital. And we need that in our system." My first response was, "I'm busy." I'm like, "Lady, I'm a corporate speaker. I got speeches lined up around the corner. I'm talking about 10, 15 grand, 20 grand a pop." I'm like, "Listen, I'm not trying to go to prison. Been there, done that." I even set up a bunch of prison programs when I first came home. Go see one of my mentees. She said, "No, we need you." And I was like, "Lady, I'm busy." Then she said, "Where's your commitment to the work?" Called my assistant, Brianna, cancel everything. We fly to South Carolina. And we go inside and we start talking to men. Over 6 days, 10 prisons, 8,000 prisoners came out of the cell for the first time in 5.5 months. And they were responsive to the message. Because my message wasn't to whites or the blacks or the Spanish or the Crips or the Bloods. It was to the people. I speak to people. And I spoke to them the 5 minutes. The 5 minutes when we're all together, I came in and I spoke to the 5 minutes. And everybody identified. Then I came back and we set up a program in that facility. It's been running for almost 4 years. We went from 7 dead bodies to 1 fist fight. We went from inmates hating staff or not liking staff to one of the guys in our program saved the CO's life. He was in the process of being murdered, and one of our guys stepped in and saved his life. When they asked him why he did it, he said, "Right is right, wrong is wrong. What I saw was wrong." That's always been his motto. We just expanded who fit into the right and wrong. There was a time the COs didn't fit into his right and wrong. Now they do. We didn't change him. We just expanded that 5 minutes. And we included people that weren't included before. And we've been there 4 years, and it was almost a year ago. I come from Massachusetts, reached out to me. And the commissioner reached out and said, "Andre, come home." And the unit in that book that you hear me talking about living in, going to get my hamburger, all that stuff, I now run that unit as a contractor. They contract me and pay me, I don't care about the money, to come back to the prison that used to hold me. And I work there now. And I walk through the hallways, they're like, "Him?" She got a lot of like, "You're bringing him?" She said, "Yeah, that's who they need to see. That's hope. We're authority. We're possibility. We're chances. He's hope. When he walks through here, he's literally hope for them." And to her credit, in Massachusetts, to the director's credit in South Carolina, Brian Sterling and Carol Michi, they wanted hope. They wanted better for their people. And they came to the point to say, well, I can't deliver hope. They can deliver programs, classes, better food, better this. They can't deliver hope. Hope comes from inside. And I've had countless commissioners and directors of corrections and sheriffs say, we want hope, and your presence is that. So for me, it's like super humbling that I get to be that guy.
You've done so much to help people, either in this video, spread more hope, or the people you've actually touched individually. If they were to hold you in their prayers tonight, what would you have them pray for?
For me, one, I get my health together. Real talk, need better health. Health is wealth, and I need to be healthy. More healthy than I am, and I am doing better, but I'm not done. I've set a goal, the same way I said I want to go to Harvard, I set a goal, 225 pounds. I'm en route. It's fixed to the wall, and it's non-negotiable. And it's not hopefully going to take me 25 years to get there. I don't have 25 years. I work every day for men and women around the world to do and be better. So right now I work with a company out of Texas. They have tablets in prison. So I collect trainings and poems and music, and I put them on the tablets for the guys and girls in jail. Genius Network has donated so many books to prisoners because inside we get the worst of the worst books, the worst of the worst trainings. We just get the leftovers. So Genius is like, here's the best books from the best authors, from the top editors, from the top thinkers. So they're going in with the Dan Sullivans. Our book club is called the Sean Stevenson Book Club because when he passed, I was so hurt, and I didn't want his name to die. So we have a book club. And every day, at any prison that I work in, for 1 hour a day, we stop everything and we read. And Dan Sullivan, Sean Stevenson, Joe Polish, you know what I'm saying, Ben Hardy, Jason Fladlin, and Mike Koenig. We're reading everybody. Jim Dewey. Everybody's Keith Cunningham, Dean Jackson. We have the best of the best. Chris Voss. They love, I got a prison full of criminals and they're reading Never Split the Difference by Chris Voss, and they loved it. Because it's not about prison, prisoner, FBI, it's lessons. We're people and they're lessons. We got rid of the titles of criminals, prisoners, bad people, and we go with the lessons. So if they could do anything for me, I would love to have more content that I could go down to Securus and go to JPay platform, and I want to give them the best of the best information because we have 2.2 million people in jail. I want to change their lives, and I can't do it by myself. I don't know everything. So if somebody's out there as a specialist in whatever area, I don't care if you do pottery, if you fix cars, you know what I'm saying, you fly, I don't care what you do. Somebody in jail loves what you love. And I want them to have access to that.
I love it. The man is Andre Norman. This is his book, Ambassador of Hope. Go check it out. We'll link it up in the description below. Andre, appreciate you, man.
Oh, man. Always.
If you want another awesome video in our Black Excellence series, check out the video right there next to me. I think you'll enjoy it. Continue to believe, and I'll see you there.